almost tripled our employee base. And our company started scaling fast. And we scaled this business. We took our first round of capital in 1998. So we bootstrapped, which means we didn't raise outside money, from 0 to 15 million in revenue, essentially over the course of 6 years, by just reinvesting the money, and developing some innovative technology also that saved us a lot of money as well. And then we were going to go public in the year 2000. We had acquired 2 other companies, and we had locations on the West Coast in Oregon and in California, as well as Tennessee, Florida, and Virginia. So we had 9 locations in 6 states, and the market disappeared. So in hindsight, it was a good idea that we didn't go public, because I think we would have suffered from a valuation standpoint for the shareholders. But in 2003 is when we sold the business. We had 9 centers, 80 million in revenue, about 2,500 employees, and then we just kind of, from there, I stepped back. My partner, who was the president, stepped out, and our CFO stepped out. But aside from that, everyone else was there. Our chief operating officer, all of our VPs and senior VPs, and they're the ones that are responsible for growing this business. So you can see what can happen when you have a big company behind a small company. And this was a very good, for ACS, a success story. I think they were very happy with what happened there. And before talking a little bit about the mindset of an entrepreneur, I did want to give you 2 examples of technology innovation that we did. If you look at the year 2000, look at when we sold the business. We had 2,500 call center seats, roughly, and there's something called digital recording technology. So our engineers invented a digital recording compression technology, which saved this company a fortune, basically, because our customers wanted us to digitally record every conversation 24/7. So instead of buying a license from one of the vendors, which would have cost us about $700 a seat, so $700 times $2,500 is how much? Can someone do the math for me? 1.5 million, is that what it would be? Something like that. So we had 3 absolute geniuses from India, and they were all on H-1B visa, and they worked 24/7, and they developed a compression technology that allowed us to record conversations for virtually just the cost of the hardware. So our company saved $1.5 million in upfront fee, not to mention the 15% or 20% license fee that we would have been responsible for. So that would have been an ongoing expense of $300,000. And based on our multiple of 7, they basically created $2 million of shareholder value just with that one innovation. We thought it was so cool, we actually looked at, we filed for a patent, and we went down the road of productizing this answer, but we decided not to do that because it was going to get us distracted. We were in the business of providing great phone service, not providing great digital recording technology. We didn't want to have to document it and productize it and test it and go through a methodology to validate the programming. So we chose not to do that. But when we sold the company, this IP, this intellectual property, was a key selling point. And that was a big reason why ACS bought us. And now ACS has, they've got well over 20,000 seats, and they're still using the same technology. So the savings to them is just mammoth. So that's an example of, we had some very smart people. They saw our pain and problem, and they were able to innovate. Another innovation that CyberUp did was in this computer telephony integration area. And basically, we had, I know this sounds like old technology, but at the time this was cutting edge technology. We had a call center in Frostburg, Maryland, and a call center in McLean, Virginia. And in order to make those 2 interflow calls between the 2 centers, we would have had to pay a company like Genesis or Aspect a fortune, probably $2 million, to put a routing system in the cloud that would allow the calls to be routed between 2 call centers. And what our technologists were able to do, they were able to create a predictive dialing, and by the way, we had predictive dialers up in Frostburg, Maryland, and we didn't have any predictive dialers in McLean, Virginia. They were able to create the first remote predictive dialed call center system across 2 geographies in the world for an outsourcing company. And what that did was that prevented us from having to spend money on a routing system in the cloud as well as localized predictive dialing. And they used it by putting a bunch of T1s between the 2 centers, and they interflowed calls. So a predictively dialed outbound call in Frostburg was that we tricked the computer, we tricked the ACD into thinking that it was an inbound call. So it was an inbound call and went to an outbound sales agent. So, you know.
What's predictive dialing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Predictive dialing is a version of automated computerized dialing where you would load a database of phone numbers into your computer or into your dialing system. And because, let's say you have a fixed number of call center agents, say 10, that can take a call at any one time, it uses the algorithms to calculate the average conversation time for each person.
That's
and
why we're here. You predict estimated wait time.
That's right.
Okay,
So now it was more than 10 people. It was 400 people. So you have hundreds of people. So you don't want them wasting time waiting to make another call. When the call is over, we want our people to be productive. So when the call is over, the computer senses that this person's over, and they'll route another call immediately. How the computer does this is they call more people than they expect to be on the phone. So if they think that out of 200 people, 20 are going to be off the phone within 15 seconds, they might launch 30 phone calls. And of the 30, and they may launch more because there's, might get a wrong number, might get a busy signal, might get someone hanging up on it, might launch 60 phone calls, and then they might get 30 connections out of 60, and then they will then send the first 20. What happens to the other 10 is it's called an abandonment rate. So if you ever are home and you answer the phone and say hello, hello, and there's no, that's a predictive dialer basically abandoning that call. So that's what a predictive dialer is. I'll give you one more example of innovation with LoR systems. So about 8 years ago, LoR had a very cumbersome IT infrastructure in its data center in Virginia. So we had essentially 2 full cabinets worth of servers, servers and storage devices, and we had dedicated servers for payroll, email, dedicated equipment for file servers, you name it. And this was before, right as virtualization technology was coming out. Are you guys familiar with virtualization technology? So VMware, Citrix, Microsoft, okay. So our technologists started investigating this company called VMware, which was at the time owned by EMC. They had this cool technology that allowed you to consolidate servers. So what we did was we were able to take 2 full cabinets of servers and consolidate that on probably around a 5-to-1 ratio to a quarter cabinet. And not only did they do that, which wound up not only saving money on the real estate footprint and the power footprint, we were able to offer that solution. We created our own cloud, if you will, our own infrastructure as a service platform. We started selling capacity in that infrastructure as a service platform to other customers. So LoR got into the cloud computing business about 8 years ago by mistake. So because of the innovation to save money, because again, LoR was an undercapitalized small company with not enough resources and people, we basically used cutting edge technology again. And I think that's a key learning here, which is when you innovate, sometimes you're using cutting edge technology that is high risk. So things can go wrong, things can crash. Our predictive dialing system, the manufacturers didn't warranty what we were doing. In fact, in some cases they felt that we might be breaking the maintenance contract by doing what we did. But in order for us to save the money, we wound up doing that. And certainly with digital recording, that could have crashed as well. We took a lot of risk in using it and putting it into production. So, that's three examples of creative innovation that that some of the companies I've been involved in have done. And just in terms of, I want to spend a couple of slides talking about the whole concept of entrepreneurship. How many of you are entrepreneurs yourselves or plan to start your own business down the road? And everyone else wants to go work for somebody? I'll have to give you my cards. We're always looking for talent. Well, anyway, just to give you some bullets on, if you want to start a business, you have to make a go, no-go decision, right? So, and part of making that go, no-go decision, if you've got a brilliant idea, or you have a brilliant concept, or if you have a better mousetrap, is that it's more of an art than a science, and I think that's important. You guys are scientists, right? So you're very, you look at things in a certain way that maybe an artist does not. But in terms of getting the feel to do something, it's all about the feel. How does it feel? Because you can't do market research to figure out whether or not your idea is going to work. Because oftentimes it's such a new idea, it's just a guess. And then you want to have the confidence, cash, customer, and capability. I call it the 4 C's. How confident are you in your idea? Do you have the money to do it? Can you borrow the money? Do you have credit card capacity? Do you have a customer in hand? Maybe you start your business off of a one consulting contract with a big company that wants to that pays you to develop your idea. And I think having the customer in hand is very important because A, it's cash flow, and B, it's validation of your idea. So if you have a customer that's willing to pay for your idea, that means a lot, and it also means a lot to an investor. And then execution, execution capability. Do you have the right people? Do you have the right approach? Do you have the right messaging? Are you solving the right pain? Do you have the right service back end once you make a sale? So these are the kinds of things you want to think through before you go out and start a business. And then passion is something that I believe is super important because the passion is what leads to energy, and the energy is what leads to the hard work and the persistence, and you never give up and you wind up being successful that way. Sometimes I talk to people that they're working full time, and the question for them is, do I start a business? I've got a family, I've got to put food on the table, but I have this great idea. So maybe they can test the theory while they're getting salary. Maybe they can work overtime or at night or on the weekends on their idea, or maybe they can cut back their hours to spend more time on their business. And then you have to think about what are you really going to lose if you fail. And that, to me, is a great question to ask yourself, because the worst case is, so what? You tried, you failed, you guys have master's degrees from a great institution, you can go get a job anywhere. There's high demand for salaried employees. So the worst that can happen is you spent 2, 3, 4 years trying to mature an idea that didn't happen for one reason or another, undercapitalized or timing wasn't right. But you just go get another job. But the key learning that you're going to develop and the confidence that you'll have from having tried it you're going to carry it with you the rest of your life. And conversely to that, if you don't try it and you live another 30 years, you might regret not ever having done it. And that regret is a big cost. So I do think that recession is a great time to start a business. People think it's counterintuitive. I mean, I started my company in a recession, and from experience, I mean, we didn't even know it was a recession. We believed in our idea so much, we didn't care, the economy's bad, the economy's good, money's available, money's not available. We believed in our idea so much, we just did it. But I think recession's a great time, because the competition is afraid. The competition is laying people off, they're scared. The vice presidents or senior vice presidents are all worried about their own jobs. Their customers are having problems. They have this legacy infrastructure that they can't unwind very quickly. You have an opportunity to be nimble and quick, come up with some ideas, angles, and different approaches to win customers. So I do think that the recession's the best time to start a business. And the habits you develop by building a business in a recession, frugality, being bootstrap mentality, entrepreneurial, that'll stay with you. My company, we were started in a recession. We didn't spend a lot of money. We were very, very tight with our budget. Even today at Xerox, the managers have that whole mentality, and it's great. I think companies that started in the .com, era of 2000, 1999, they got into bad habits. They were buying beautiful furniture and